So in order for us to install Spring Cloud Sleuth, let's together just take this dependency right here. So Spring Cloud Starter and then Sleuth. Now in here, what I want to do is within IntelliJ, let's open up customer pom.xml and let's add the dependency right here. Let's also do the same for Eureka Server. So within the POM and in here, add that in. Let's also do the exact same thing for, so don't worry if this is red because I need to reload in a second. So fraud. There we go. And finally, notification. So open up the POM and add a dependency. Now let's reload Maven changes. There we go. You can see that it's no longer red for fraud as well, Eureka Server, as well as customer. Now, what I want you to do is go ahead and start all of these applications. So the server first, and then all of the microservices, customer, fraud, and notification. So let's start the Eureka Server. There we go. Then let's also start customer. I will also do it for fraud, and finally notification. So now if I collapse this, and what I want to do is I want to open up Postman, and in here let's send our usual request to API v1 and then customers. We should get a 200. There we go. Now if I go back to IntelliJ and then open up this tab, so the run tab, and what I want to show you is, have a look. So remember when we added some logging. So let's go to customer first. So in here we have the log. Have a look. We have new customer registration, and then we have the payload. But what's important is, so this is actually added for us. So this is Sleuth in action. Now this right here is the trace ID, and then this is the span ID, and the trace ID and span ID is added because of this log line in here. So we've done the same for all of the microservices in the controllers. Now the request from customer goes to fraud. So let's check fraud. So in here, have a look, we have another log message, and this is fraud. The trace ID is the exact same thing. So have a look, 77482. If I go back to customer, 77482. But what changes is the span ID. So this is now different. Then the request goes to notification, and have a look. So notification, so that's the name of the service. The trace ID is the exact same thing because it's one unit of work. But then here, the span ID is different. Now you can see that this information is actually added to every single log. But in here, so we don't have this information in here for these other logs because they're not ours. So now that we have this information, so the trace ID and the span ID across all microservices, next let's configure Zipkin so that we can see this information in action.